The world's biggest sporting event is underway. Steve Clarke's side are invited to the party. The Scottish Football Podcast World Cup party starts now. Hello, I'm Jonathan Sutherland, and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need on Friday, the 12th of June. Almost showtime for Scotland. Time to take our place back on the global stage.
Shea Adams to the left-hand side. Just takes a heavy touch. Might still get the shot away. What a goal that is! To make it 4-0 Scotland. Shea Adams got a second bite of the cherry.
We cut through Curaçao and battered Bolivia. But after morale-boosting wins, it's time for the serious stuff.
We all want the one thing, and that's the country to be successful. So the young players aren't here to add to the numbers, to make up the numbers. They're here to make an impact and start their own careers.
A win over Haiti is almost certainly a must if Scotland are to make history and get out of the group for the first time. And how worried should we be about an upset stomach for star man Scott McTominay? We look ahead to a seismic match.
Back when I was a little bit younger as a player, I always dreamed of being at a World Cup with my country. I didn't manage to do it as a player, so to be here as a head coach is just probably stuff that dreams are made of.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
We are joined by two brilliant guests this morning. I'm delighted to say we are joined by the Hibs legend and former Scotland international Joelle Murray, and also the former Rangers and Hearts player Andy Halliday. And Andy, if I can come to you first, is this true? In my producer's notes, you never actually got ever a Scotland call-up. I'm actually finding that a little bit hard to believe.
I'm glad you're finding that hard to believe. I don't think many others would agree with you, Jonathan. But yeah, never even at any kind of youth level, which I suppose that side of it was a wee bit more surprising given that I'd broke into the first team at 16, so it was a really young age. I'd got to move down to Middlesbrough down south at 18. So I'm listening, you were always wanting to represent your country, obviously at under 21 level. When I was playing first team games, I was just kind of waiting for that call to come, and it never, which is obviously one kind of slight regret I've got in my career. But in terms of the national setup, I think over kind of the span of my career, I mean, the Scotland national team have been doing pretty well and done more so than this group just now. So still got the buzz all the same as being a fan, and I just can't wait to this first game against Haiti.
Well, you're the first name on the team sheet for the Scottish Football Podcast. I'm sure that's a huge consolation to you, Andy, so that's good. Joelle, there's been a lot of talk, Joelle, this week about who do we leave out of the Haiti match from the team that gave us a Bolivian oblivion last weekend. And John McGinn obviously didn't start in the starting 11, came on obviously, and there's a lot of debate. We'll get into it. But you went to the 2019 World Cup. I'm sorry to bring this up so early in the morning, I believe, and you didn't play a single match. Is that right? And how did you deal with that?
Yeah, that's correct. Went to the 2017 Euros, didn't play a single match, so I guess that maybe prepared me a little bit for the World Cup in 29, but it's a difficult one, Jonathan, I think, as a player, and for me, certainly, I was proud to be in the group. It was certainly a privilege. I knew I was in the minority. I knew I was somewhere that a lot of players would have wanted to be. But there's also that personal disappointment not taken to the pitch in any of those matches. So it's trying to get the balance of appreciating and being proud and privileged to be in a position that a lot of players wanted to be, but also trying to kind of hide that personal disappointment away from the group and manage it accordingly.
I was going to say, I mean, the initial disappointment, how did you cope with that, or how did you feel about that? How did you react to that? And then that mentality shift where obviously you just wanted to be the best teammate you could possibly be.
Yeah, it's difficult. I believe that I was probably in the group for being a good teammate, a morale booster, but yeah, I believed in my ability. There was times in those games that I thought I could have come on and certainly made a difference, albeit I was a defender. So yeah, it's trying to get the balance between managing those emotions, managing those individual internal emotions away from the group, whilst also being that supportive teammate. So it is difficult because as a footballer, Andy will know himself, I want to win. I want to win in everything that I do. I want to be the best version of myself, but it's those uncontrollable moments. Andy would have, of course, liked to have played for the national team at any level, but it's an uncontrollable. I, of course, would have wanted to take to the pitch, but once again, that's an uncontrollable. So I guess for me, it was just trying to get that balance and make sure that I was the best version of myself and control what I could control within that frustrating situation.
Yeah, it must be an emotional roller coaster. We'll get more into this, I think, when we talk about the big decisions that Steve Clarke really has to make ahead of what is a huge match against Haiti. And of course, there will be disappointment for some. Substitutions, you would imagine, will make a big impact in this tournament. We'll get to that in a moment, because I really want to get into the start of the World Cup, because I was there, Andy, last night, 6:15 on the telly, watching it, the opening ceremony and the start of the World Cup coverage. I feel like it's always a magical moment for everybody. And I think probably, maybe especially for this first generation of people that have never seen Scotland at a World Cup tournament. I know Scotland weren't playing last night, but it's the start of the World Cup where Scotland are going to be at. And, you know, not just for 12, 13-year-olds watching their first World Cup, but probably for people in their 20s who've never experienced the build-up for Scotland at a World Cup. What did you make of the coverage last night? I thought it was kind of magical. I thought they got the tone quite right. It was absolutely brilliant in places, great archive, great memories flooding back, and your own thoughts. And I want to get your thoughts as well, both of you, on the opening ceremony, because it always provokes opinions.
Yeah, listen, I thought it was excellent. Like you said, is that balance between the laid back nature within the studio, Shakira in the opening ceremony, the colours, the magical stadium, and then I thought the game started ever so well, which I think just fed into all that kind of build up that you're talking about, because you've then got real buzz, real excitement going into the tournament. And I thought the opening 10-15 minutes, I thought Mexico were blistering. And you know, I've had my football academy now, Jonathan, for 2.5 years, and I have never seen as many Scotland tops as I've seen over the last week or two. So it just shows that what this group of players is doing for this younger generation. And I put myself back as a fan. Remember 98 when John Collins scores his penalty. I remember 2002 when Ronaldo scores a double in the final. 2006 for the Zidane headbutt. When you're a young player, you remember all these memories and you remember them forever. So that's what Steve Clarke and his players have done for this group of young players, taking them into a World Cup. Who's going to be that hero who's going to give us that everlasting memory when the tournament comes?
That's it as well, Joelle, isn't it? I mean, these moments are huge for young football fans in particular. I think I read something, it was in the Irish Times, and the writer was saying, basically, you fall in love with the World Cup around 10, 11, 12, 13 years of age, and you spend the rest of your life trying to chase that feeling once again in football. Can you remember your first sort of World Cup memory?
Yeah, I think you're right. It's a feeling like no other, regardless of what part you're playing in it. If you're just a spectator, if you're watching from home, if you're there, I think it's a feeling like no other. You can't wait for the next game to come, even if it's not the team that you're supporting. I think the opening ceremony, the energy, the vibrancy, the colours, I think that just set the tone for what this tournament's going to be. And I think for me, France '98 was that tournament that I firstly remember. Obviously Scotland, France, the own goals and various other things like that. So that was my first early memory of the World Cup, and certainly for me it set that tone. It gave me that appetite to want to watch us on that stage more and more. So yeah, France '98 was probably that early memory for me.
It was Costa Rica for me at Italia 90. I'm showing my age here, Andy. One person who's not showing her age is Shakira. Quite unbelievable, actually. Do you know what age she is? I mean, she's got some real hold over FIFA. I mean, she seems to be involved in every single World Cup opening ceremony. But there she was last night, dancing away. I had to actually check what age she is because I don't think she has aged in 25 years. Any guesses?
Well, I'm going to go for early 40s, even though she doesn't look like that, obviously.
Okay, Joelle?
I'll maybe go late 40s. Late 40s.
Joelle, you're spot on. 49 years
Ah,
old. That
wow.
was unbelievable,
I'll
Andy.
I'll take whatever she's having because yeah, she's definitely not aged.
Shakira dropped the skincare routine.
Oh my goodness. She's even older than I am, which and I'm looking really old at 6:30 this morning, as you can both see, obviously, and that stadium, Andy, as well. I mean, testament to Mexican builders. I mean, the Azteca. It's not changed since Pele was lifting the World Cup in 1970, Diego Maradona in '86. There's something sort of cinematic about it, and I felt that really added something to it last night. It just evoked so much nostalgia, memories, and just love for this tournament.
Across the world, there's so many iconic stadiums, but I feel like in Europe, we're blessed with so many. Whereas I think in South America, there's really two or three that kind of stand out to you with La Bombonera, the Azteca, and the Maracanã. When you watch the scenes last night and you see Alan McCoy's pitch side doing his bit before the game, I mean, the stadium looks absolutely ginormous. I don't even know how many tiers it is. I don't even know how far it goes up into the sky, but it looks huge. And like I said, I thought the vibrancy, the colour, and everything that was brought in terms of entertainment value before the game, I thought it looked like an absolute brilliant spectacle. And I take myself back to this World Cup draw, and I thought the World Cup draw was a bit of a disaster, and it then gives you the fear going into the World Cup. Is it going to be too entertainment driven? Is it going to take too much away for the football? But like he says, I thought they got the perfect balance last night, and what an opening stadium to kick it off in.
Yeah, and great wins for Mexico and also in the end for South Korea as well, with the former Celtic striker Oh Hyun-gyo getting the actual winner in that one against Czech Republic. Right, let's talk about Scotland. And I feel like we've been talking about Scotland all week, and obviously we have. And I did think, actually, Joelle, at the start of this week, how on earth are we going to talk about Scotland for like 5 or 6 days and say something different each day ahead of this huge game against Haiti? But actually, it's been pretty easy because the talking points are big, juicy, and I would say very difficult for Steve Clarke. And everybody, it seems, has a slightly different opinion. In a moment, I'll probably ask you for your starting 11s. And you probably touched on this the other day with Kenny McIntyre. I know you were on with him, but we'll review that because I feel like these things are constantly changing a little bit. And let's start with the goalkeeping position. I watched the Craig Gordon documentary on the BBC iPlayer yesterday. It was brilliant. The amount of adversity he's had to face throughout his career, his amazing career, and now he's the oldest man at the World Cup. And I feel that we should start with the man between the sticks. Who is it going to be for you, Joelle, and why? Angus Gunn or Craig Gordon?
Yeah, starting with, for me, probably one of the most difficult ones. I think both are similar in terms of their lead up to the World Cup, in terms of kind of lacking those competitive minutes domestically. But yeah, I don't know. I think for me, a flip of a coin is as poor an answer that sounds. I think Craig Gordon has shown time and time again that he can come in and pull off those big match saving moments. But Angus Gunn in Craig's absence has been fantastic. So yeah, a flip of a coin, but I think I'll lean towards a Craig Gordon.
Interesting. And the Angus Gunn obviously had the gloves at last Euros. There were maybe a few question marks from some at times about that tournament, but you'd have to say overall since then he's been pretty solid for Scotland. As for Craig Gordon, we all know his history and he is capable of those world-class moments, but he is 43 years of age. Both of them have struggled for game time. I guess it comes down to who Steve Clarke trusts the most come the moment. Who do you think will start between the sticks?
I think it'll be Angus Gunn myself. I think you've explained it perfectly well, Jonathan, as well, that I think Steve Clarke's going to go with who he trusts in this moment. Now, if it was 2-3 years ago, who would he trust? I think it would be Craig Gordon. But it's not so much the lack of game time at Craig Gordon's age, it's the lack of training sessions. He's missed a lot of training this year through injury. It's got to take his toll on some point. I mean, it defies logic, the fact he's still doing it at 43, but there's got to be a point where you miss that amount of training through niggling injuries that is going to affect some level of sharpness, some level of concentration. Now, I would have said that at the start of the season, and I still vividly remember sitting with you, Jonathan, on that couch, seeing his save at Dens Park, and you just think, how does he keep doing it?
Yeah.
But I think, given the fact that Angus Gunn's been in decent form, I think given that Craig Gordon has had that handful of injuries this year, I think it will be Angus Gunn that gets the nod. And by the way, if the team lineup comes out and Craig Gordon's between the sticks, I don't think anyone in this nation will be in uproar, that's for sure. But I think Angus Gunn will just get the nod for me.
Yeah, there would be a definite fairy tale element if it was Craig Gordon. I'm not sure Steve Clarke does fairy tales, although he is a bit different, I feel, at the moment. Steve Clarke, a little bit mellower. He's talking about he wants to enjoy it, but Leopard doesn't change his spots. He is always pragmatic. I think that's a huge decision he's got to make, and I wonder if he's still mulling it over. In terms of the defence, guys, what do you first, Andy, on this? I think most people think it will be Aaron Hickey, Andy Robertson at the back. The question mark is who's going to be the central defensive partnership, or just to throw a slight spanner in the works, will he opt for a back three, given the nature of the opponent he's facing? I heard John Walker on the Scottish Football Podcast the other day talking about how Haiti will like to play like really on the transition, and maybe a back five could be a way of combating that. But if he does go with a back four, Andy, I don't know if that's what you think. Who's your central defensive partnership?
Well, I think given it's the last two friendlies, your final preparation of the World Cup, I think you try and take away two things. Is Steve Clarke shown his hand in terms of formation, who he wants to play, or is he trying to experiment partnerships? I think he was certainly showing his hand with a 4-4-2. I think given that this first game is, for me, a must-win, I think he wants to try and get slightly more attackers on the pitch, and that's why I do think he'll go with a 4-4-2, which will be 4 defenders. Now, to combat that against Haiti, for me, means that Scott McKenna has to play. I think he's the most athletic out the four. I think he's the quickest out the four. So there's going to be scenarios where we're defending a halfway line, and I think his recovery pace could be absolutely crucial within that. I think the big one is who partners him, because I think Jack Henry and Grant Hanley had a really good game against Bolivia last week. But I think for me, I'm just going to give the nod to Jack Henry again, given that at Grant Hanley's age, I think Jack Henry just has that slightly more athleticism. So I think that pairing a Scott McKenna and Jack Henry will be the one that gets the nod. And again, I think it's a strong partnership. I think both players have had good seasons domestically. I think Scott McKenna finished with 34 appearances in the Croatian League. Jack Henry finished with 30 in the Saudi League. So yeah, it's two that I'd be pretty confident in.
Joelle, would you go along with that, or would you have a different view?
I think in terms of formation, I think I would agree with Andy. I think a back four for me. I think that's what Steve Clarke will most likely go with. In terms of the central defensive pairing, I really like that Hanley-Henry combination. I think they complemented each other really well. You've got the experience, you've got, I say, youthfulness. I think Jack Henry's not that young, but yeah, I really like that combination of those two. So for me, it would be a Hanley-Henry centre-back combination in between a Hickey and a Robertson, a back four.
It's interesting you mentioned not that young yet. Everybody seems to have crept up in age without anybody noticing, and they've all got about 1 million caps these days as well. Jack Henry's actually unbelievably 31 years of age. So yeah, it is a big call for Steve Clarke, who's going to play in central defensive field, but they've all certainly done themselves justice recently. I'm going to call it a front six in terms of who you can choose next. It's obviously, he's played 4-4-2, so 4 midfielders and 2 up top seems to be what people are thinking. I'll let you go your own ways with that, but before we get to that, let's just quickly touch on the Scott McTominay stomach upset, Andy Halliday. He he had to travel separately in the bus, it seems, with the doctor. It's a precaution, is the word we're getting. But how worried are you about that?
Well, I've been refreshing BBC Sport every hour for the last 2-3 days, and it's only been to make sure there's no more Scotland injury concerns, given obviously we lost Billy Gilmore before the tournament. And when I seen Scott McTominay had a stomach issue, I nearly fell off my couch, because for me, he's that one player in our team that I think's irreplaceable. That bit of stardom, that goal against Denmark, I don't think anyone else in the Scotland team scores it, and I don't think there's many players across Europe that score that goal. So for me, he's so vital to us, whether he plays. He played centre half against Serbia the night we qualified for Euros in the first time. He's played as a deep line midfielder like he did against Bolivia. He's played off a striker. He's played striker. I think he's so important to us, and I'm pretty sure with the type of player he is, the type of character he is, that no matter what the stomach issue is, he'll play through it. But Joelle will tell you, we've had it before. It can be difficult. It can make it uncomfortable, especially in the conditions that he's going to be playing in. So I think Steve Clarke will ultimately give him the most possible time he can to recover. But I don't think there's any doubt, if he's even 50% fit, that he's going to be playing that game. It's who fits round about him. I can't believe the amount of discussion I've seen over the last few days of people suggesting that John McGinby's on the bench, because he's probably the next name that has to play in the team sheet. So I think they two for me are 100% going to play. It just depends what position they're in.
Interesting. Yeah. I must admit, Joelle, I was watching Napoli's results coming in, and just fingers crossed that Scott McTominay wouldn't get injured all the lead up to the World Cup. And then here we are a few days away. He's got a stomach upset, and you just don't quite know how worried to be about it, do you? And then also there's the fact that, if, depending on the nature of the stomach upset, that you wouldn't want it to kind of spread to others either. And that would just be every Scotland fan's worst nightmare, obviously.
Yeah, it would. It's obviously not ideal when we look at players being unavailable. You instantly think of injuries from matches, from training, and obviously a stomach upset isn't ideal at all. But it sounds like they're taking all the right precautions. Didn't train with the group yesterday, I believe. Travelled separately. So I'd like to think that all these measures are precautionary. Certainly to ensure that Scott McTominay arrives at the game in the best possible condition, because, like Andy said, he is a player that is absolutely irreplaceable. Has 15 goals and 70 caps. Has just the way he commands that central area. He's certainly irreplaceable. So I'd like to think that Steve Clarke will give him to the very last second. But yeah, I think Scott McTominay will make sure he'll be on that pitch regardless of how severe or not that stomach upset is.
Okay, Andy, you've touched on it already. John McGinn's in your midfield. So in terms of the midfield and the striking positions, who are you leaving out?
Well, I've been mulling over this for the last few days, and I can't believe I'm going to say it, but I think it will be Ryan Christie that's ultimately left out. And I'm a huge admirer of Ryan Christie. I think he's such an intelligent football player. I think he links the game for Scotland extremely well. But I think whoever's going to get left out will be really hard done by. But I just feel that strike partnership, Che Adams and Lon Shanklin, I think they've made themselves undroppable. I thought that partnership, that link up between the two last week, and given that it is such a big game for us in terms of trying to get the 3 points, I think Steve Clarke will want the two strikers on the pitch, so I think they two will play. So like it says in the midfield, for me, Scott McTominay's undroppable, John McGinn's undroppable, and for me, Ben Doak's undroppable. So it's who's that fourth to fit in the midfield. And I think to give it that balance, to have that almost just that rock steady centre midfielder that can sit, let Scott McTominay get in the box, sweep up if the ball comes outside the box. I think Lewis Ferguson's the one that fits that mould slightly better than Ryan Christie does. So I think my midfield four would be somebody last week in terms of Lewis Ferguson and Scott McTominay in the middle, Ben Doak on the right, but John McGinn will be coming in on that left-hand side for me.
It's going to be maybe tough for Ryan Christie. He has been such a great player, and obviously the guys coming off the bench will still make a big impact. But yeah, Lewis Ferguson and Scott McTominay, they had a nice blend, it felt, in the centre of midfield against Bolivia. Joelle, what are you going to go for in terms of the midfield and up front?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Andy. I think there's players that are in there that are undroppable. McGinn, McTominay, players that have been unbelievable in terms of their performance levels. Shankland and Adams, I think 3 goals and a couple of assists between them in the last game in particular. Their link-up plays been unbelievable. As a player, you're always told train well, play well, and you put yourself in the best possible position for selection, and they've done that in abundance. So for me, they're a stick on up front and a 2, and then the same midfield as Andy. I think you need that kind of that central midfielder who's just going to allow your creative players to go and play forward, in the knowledge that they've got that player behind them that's going to regain the ball, break up play, and then play forward once again. So yeah, frustrating probably for players like Christie, who've done no wrong. But I think that's probably the best 4 and 2 for this game.
Very interesting indeed. We shall see what Steve Clarke comes up with. The Fiesta football starts at 9 a.m. on the Saturday show. Off the Ball's at 12. Join me for Sports Sound at 2 o'clock, and then it's football all the way until a big kickoff at 2 a.m. On the telly, Brazil versus Morocco is the warm-up act at 10:30 on BBC One before the main event, Haiti versus Scotland. Let's finish with some quick-fire questions, one-word answers. Andy, I know you did this the other day, and I've got your answers from the other day, but I just want to see if you waver in any way or if you've changed your mind. So we shall see in a second. And Joelle, this is your first time doing it, so I'll come to you first. And as I said, one-word answers are as close as you can manage. How many points, Joelle, will Scotland get?
7.
7?
Wow.
So,
I'm going for it.
I know I said one-word answers, but I just need to get into that a little bit more now you said it. So, a win against Haiti, obviously. Who else are we beating?
We'll get the first 2 wins. I think we'll go for it.
And then just draw with Brazil.
Just draw with Brazil, yeah.
What a disappointing result that was at the
end. Andy, are you sticking with 3?
I'm sticking with the 3. I think we'll beat Haiti. Not comfortable, but by more than a goal. I think we'll beat them 2-0. And I think the defeats against Morocco and Brazil will be narrow enough to still take us through. So that is my gut feeling. There's nothing that suggests that we can't get 4 points. I think we've shown against top nations before. And I look at that Brazil side, Jonathan, and it's Brazil. They'll always have that stardom about them. They've won the most World Cups, but it's not early 2000s Brazil. It's not 2010 Brazil either. So I still think we can get a point in that game. I think Morocco's actually the hardest out of the 3 personally. They've obviously got to the semi-finals of the last World Cup. I don't know if they won the AFCON or not. It seems as if that result's changed every couple of months. But actually for me, I think they're probably the most difficult out of the 3. But my gut feelings tell me we get 3 points.
Yeah, Brazil and Morocco very much in the top 10 of the FIFA rankings. Scott McTominay's got a stomach upset, but Joelle Murray's got a real case of World Cup fever, which is good to see. Next question, Joelle. Who will be our top scorer?
Lauren Shankland.
Andy?
Scott McTominay.
Stomach upset pending.
He could score a double with a stomach upset.
Who's winning the World Cup, Joelle?
I'll go controversially, England.
Oh,
what? This is a seismic quickfire from you, Joelle.
We got World Cup fever, and then what a downer I'm on now.
Wow. I find that interesting. But I mean, they are one of the favourites. They always seem to be. They certainly get carried away with themselves a little bit. Wow. Andy, are you sticking with France?
This is where I have changed my mind more than once. I've went between Spain, Argentina, France. I do think France has the best squad. I think Argentina have the benefit of, I say, home advantage. It's obviously in their continent compared to the European side, and I think Spain's the best team out of the 3. So it's like I change between the 3 all the time, but I'll try not to change too much. So I will stick with France for now.
And then who is your dark horse, Joelle?
Dark horse. Probably going to contradict myself here, but Morocco then. Contradicting myself from those 7 points. So yeah.
So Morocco and Scotland to emerge from the group. Brazil, maybe. Wow. Okay. And Andy?
I said Japan the other day. Watching Mexico last night, they'll have home advantage. They'll be used to the conditions. I thought they looked really strong last night. I think they're in a group where you do feel as if the two winners from last night, South Korea and Mexico, will be the two that go through. Could they get a good draw? So I think there'll certainly be a surprise in the South American section of the World Cup. I think it could be Mexico, given what I watched last night. Obviously, I said Japan the other day. We watched them at Hampden just, what was it, 3 months ago? I thought they were excellent. I think they'll get through their group as well. So I do think it's going to be the type of World Cup that's going to spring a couple of shocks. I'm hoping, obviously, Scotland are one of them, but I do think conditions are going to play a huge part.
I can't believe the other day Tony Docherty said Argentina is his dark horses. I thought that was a yellow.
The reigning champs.
Yes.
What a shock if they go far.
And final question: which of the big guns will flop, Joelle?
I don't know. I think maybe France.
Oh, Andy's tip.
Maybe.
Okay, Andy?
I think Holland, Germany. I think England as well, personally. I don't think England will get past the quarterfinals, and I think that will be a disappointment for them.
Wow, that's this has been quite a seismic quick fire. And it's not been quick at all. It's actually added about 5 minutes on. The producer's furious, but you know what? We're just going to keep it in anyway. So it's the World Cup after all. I've got a 3-year-old banging on the office door here as well, so I need to go anyway by the time for his breakfast. But listen, guys, Joelle, you got the World Cup fever pretty bad there, and it's good to see. Fantastic to see, in fact. So let's hope it's an enjoyable weekend. Listen, guys, thank you very much for joining us this morning. It's been absolutely brilliant. Remember, there are new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast every day. Don't miss out. Have push notifications turned on your phone and subscribe on BBC Sounds. Scottish football, the gift that keeps on giving. Thanks for listening, and come on, Scotland.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.